There we go. Okay. So this is my elevator pitch. I have different ones for different people, but this one's kind of a fun one. So my name is Beth Holland. My background is I had a degree in psychology, and I worked as a medical social worker and at a hospital until Katrina hit it and destroyed it. And so it kind of shifted me to another transition, another career in decorating. And I did that for a while, and I was just like, one day my mom called me and she was complaining to me about why I never call her anymore. Like for like, you never call me to, actually the words were, you never call me like to know how to cook a roast because there's Google. And so I started thinking about it. I was like, gosh, Google really has impacted like my ancestral recipes passed down from generation to generation. I'm just like Googling the first one that comes up, and that's what I'm using. And I was like, wow, it really does impact our relationships. And then it just led me to think, how I really want to study how technology is impacting our relationships. And that led me to return to school. So I went back to school about 6 years ago, the University of North Texas, and applied anthropology, hoping to get we have a thesis. When you go to school at UNT, your thesis has to be with a company. I was hoping SpaceX would choose me. They didn't, but that's okay. Really what happened is that I did my research in toilet repair, which is a conversation starter. If you ever want to, it really does. I'm known as a toilet repair expert in the anthropology community. But that research, it wasn't a fascinating research that let me do organizational and consumer research. And so that opened up doors for me to do research from Malaysia to Mars, and not Mars with SpaceX, but Mars, the candy company. They had it. And that's another story that I'll talk about later. It's like how I got the job at Mars without having a degree in research. Having finished my degree yet. So, but today, the reason why I'm talking to you is that I'm a UXR manager for a boutique digital company that specializes in design and production of software, rated digital. But how I got into that, and if you don't know what UXR is, I'm user experience research. But you seem like the age that y'all know what UXR is. I have to explain that every time I say my title to anybody. It's like, what's UX? User experience. But how I got that job was that I went to one of the Elizabeth Fridays workshops in 2017 or 18 at AAA. And I met a guy sitting next to me, and he just graduated with his PhD, and he was trying to break. He didn't even know what business anthropology was, so I introduced him to Elizabeth and other people. We just kept in touch. He's working at Radiant. He's the manager. This is 5 years later. He puts on LinkedIn. He's hiring, and I reach out. So I get hired by him. He quits, and now I'm the manager. So that's how I'm here today. Thanks. Let's see. But my biggest experience in this, and why I'm talking to you today, is that I have done a lot of hiring lately. And what I've learned, and this is really the whole thesis of this presentation, is that until I thought like an employer interviewing, I didn't realize I was interviewing all wrong while I was looking for jobs. It was when I put myself in an employer position, I was like, oh, crap, why didn't I answer it that way? I could have had a job a year ago, but so we're going to this is going to be a presentation and a workshop. I'm going to talk about things that I've seen and like how to get the interview and how to nail the interview, but then also the workshop. And does anybody know what EDIPT is? If you want to get into UX research, you need to know what EDIPT is, which is empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. And that is the design thinking. That's pretty much design thinking in an acronym. So EDIPT. I don't think they say edit. But anyway, design thinking is what UX research is based in. And we're going to do some role playing. So wait, before I do that, what kind of interviews are you wanting to nail? If you don't mind going around the room and tell me what kind of industry you're wanting to get into. A contract archaeology? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? You don't know yet? Okay. Do you know?
Food systems research.
Oh, cool. Cool.
I have no
That's good.
UX designer data.
Okay.
I like consumer research.
Okay.
UX research.
Okay. So we got UX on the side, and I don't know what y'all are doing on this side. Say it again. Mhm.
Also teaching English as a foreign language.
Okay. So yeah, there's good. A lot of work with that, I would think right now. But you don't.
I need to get the college training, but I'm not like one concepts.
Okay, so let me say, this is going to be heavy UX, but take what I say, just change it in your mind to wherever you need it, know for yourself, because I don't know your industries. But a lot of the concepts are still the same. So, okay. So first of all, there's good news and bad news. For right now, hiring is crazy. I mean, people are, especially in the UX side, it's just crazy the amount of jobs that are open right now. So if you're wanting a job, this is the time to get it. Bad news is there is a lot of competition in general in all industries. But on average, it takes there will be 200 applicants per job posting on an online job posting. And you can see the numbers dwindle down. 100 will complete the application. 75 of those 100 resumes will be screened out either by the tracking software, the applicant tracking software, or a recruiter. Does everyone know what tracking software is? You never heard of it? Okay, so that is software. So your resume isn't seen by humans to begin with. It's seen by a computer, and they want to make sure that all the words they're looking for are embedded into your resume. And so if they ask for dog sitter, you need to make sure that your resume has dog sitter in it. Whatever it is that you need to have, that the job description has those words in your resume. Anyway, then 25 was seen by the hiring manager, 46 will be interviewed, 1 will get the job. And those are the resources for this information. For you as a job seeker, and this is not just UXR, but for everybody, it takes 100 to 200 applications to receive 1 job offer. That's what's been seen with job applications. 10 to 20 applications to get 1 interview. 10 to 15 interviews to get 1 job offer. So there's an 8.3% chance of getting a job interview to a single job application. So it's a lot of work to get a job, even though there's a lot of jobs out there. The most important statistic in this is that it takes 12 informational interviews to land an offer. And if you weren't in, who all was in the last information, in the networking? Okay, so the networking session that just happened, I would highly recommend getting that video and watching it, because she really goes deeply into how to do an informational interview. Even I learned, some new information about that. So informational interviews. In fact, I was told Elizabeth Brady, who was doing the presentation, that she didn't remember this, but that's how I met her. Is I did an informational interview with her when I was in grad school, and so because I knew I wanted to get into her circle, and I knew that might be a good way to do it. So it worked out. So here I am today. So, or that might be a good or bad thing. So, so getting the interview. Let me check with myself. Also, I want to say this too. This is something that just came out. Airbnb last week. They have 291 positions open. 800,000 candidates visited their website, their career website, because of the news that they would work remotely now. So anyway, it just, to me, it says a lot about our market right now, about what people want and how little positions are available and how many people are looking for them. So, okay. Let's see. Okay. So like I said, this is kind of the things that we're going to talk about to get the interview, but then number one thing is that I want to take, for you guys to take away today is how to get in the mindset of an employer, because that's how you're going to get hired. It's to know what they want and be able to speak their language. And then we'll talk about the other things. I don't know why I really have that slide, but, okay. So what's really interesting is when I started trying to dig into this process of thinking like an employer, the Department of Labor with the government has a career transitioning workbook, and it's used for their military. But I thought there was a lot of good information in there, like how to transition if you're in a career now, you're wanting to transition to another one, like good processes for it. So that's embedded in here. But this is their comment on the government. The government's always right, so it is the most effective strategy to think like an employer, and it does give you the edge. So let's see, is that all I have there? I think that is. So think like an employer through this whole process. The next thing is to identify and engage in networks. And the data is that 80% of jobs are filled through networking, not by filling out anonymous, applications on LinkedIn. I mean, and it's so easy to do. In fact, I got to the point where it's like, I'm not even going to do it unless I can like take it by me, just my resume through LinkedIn. I don't want to have to like send them my resume. So I got really kind of lazy at some points in my job search, but networking works. Also, referrals are hired faster than those hired through person. So this is like, and this is really a wrong graphic. What I learned from Elizabeth's session earlier, it's the extra spokes that come out here that are your best sources for jobs. It's your weak links from your strong sources that are your best paths to get networking and getting a job. And that's happened. So like the last 3 out of 4 job offers I received came from people who I knew in my network and their people. So one was from school, one was from organizations, groups in there, like consolidate words, like pretty organizations. And then the other one was my brother. So my brother works in industry, he was an insurance sales guy, and he had a guy at his church who was a UX manager at a national insurance company, and he saw on LinkedIn that he was hiring. And so I interviewed, I got the job offer, but I didn't take it. But that was so I was like, wow, your brother even knows. So don't think about, so when you're thinking, this is something to process for yourself, like who can I reach out and say, this is what I'm looking for, how can you help me?
I can give a really good example that my husband has right now. So it's one of my coworkers. It's her friend from church that I met at her birthday party is getting him an interview at her husband's company.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the change that can happen sometimes in terms of getting your foot in the door.
It really is. And I really do feel like that the job I have now is because I was kind to someone at a conference. I mean, that's really how our relationship started. It was like, hey, come and meet these people. Okay, so it's important to remember that this is 80%, you have an 80% chance of getting, or not you, the jobs, this is how they get filled. I think there was a 2009 survey that was done by AAA that said that, and they interviewed people with masters in anthropology, and 34% of those respondents said they got their job through networking, or through a network or someone they knew. It's really important. Can't stress it enough. Let's see. So the next big, okay, so that's how you're getting the interview. This kind of goes in both your interview and your and getting the interview in the first place is having a good resume. 1 page. If you do more than 1 page, no one's going to look on the second page. So it's like a waste of your time and their time. So don't do it. So this is someone who I hired recently, and I asked him if I could borrow his resume. He said yes. I thought that just for professional courtesy. But So you might not be able to see that he has skills, research skills. And these are skills that I know that so wait, let me back up. He has a PhD candidate in religion. Okay, so he doesn't have any UXR experience that from school. And his market researching is with a growing company, which I really think, even in the interview, I was like, I know he's a bartender. That's really, I know that's what he is. But how he worded it, sold it. And so and then you really can't say these words here. Let me see if I can. He took what he did though, and he translated it to my language. And that's how he got to talk. And I can't really, I have to go back here to read it because my eyes it's terrible. But the important thing, okay, so the skills, he did that in my language. He did tools. So, and it's not that I'm going to go through here and it's like, oh, he doesn't have SPSS. Not that I use SPSS, but what did stand out to me is that Figma on there and Miro, and those are really two kind of hot tools right now. So whatever industry you're wanting to go into, just want to take a little, Lynda.com class or LinkedIn class, just get some understanding of whatever tool it is that your industry uses. So that, because even if you're not proficient in it, you understand it, and you can, and if you have to do a job the next day, they hire you, you're going to figure it out. Because that's how we do it. We learn on the job. Anyway, okay, so keywords. Then I like what he did here. Empathize, analyze, synthesize, create. So he kind of took what design thinking is, like our little mottos, and just kind of like embedded it into his resume. I don't know, it's nice. He also showed effort that he was in UX coursework, which is, and I didn't verify to make sure, that, he had a certificate or whatever, but he sold me on, that he understood it enough. He showed effort in this. And so this is what you can't see in the small writing in there. So in his experience, he showed me that he produced deliverables, like he talked about personas, which is something that we produce in UXR personas. He showed me that he understood methodology, and that led to actionable insights, or term keywords that we like to use, because you want your research to be actionable. He showed me that another words that we like to use is research socialization, where you can where your research goes out into the world and people want to hear it. He showed me that he liked to do it with storytelling. Kind of like this, again, we need someone to socialize our research. He talks about, mentorship, which that conveyed to me leadership, and he likes to engage stakeholders through presentations. So it was just like a great, even though he has a PhD in religion and he studied, he really did say just like, he wasn't in a product or anything like that. But he knew enough. So in the market research, though, at the brewery, it was, I gotta get closer up. He tested visibility of new customer experiences using informal focus groups. So, but it increased brand awareness using customer personas to identify target audiences. So, that is customer research. That's UX research. So, kudos to him. Whatever industry it is, know the language, have it in your resume. Okay, omnichannel strategy. So can they tell me what omnichannel means? So omnichannel is when retailers use every source to sell their products. So you got brick buildings, and then you got online, whatever, Instagram. You need to take this approach because you're selling yourself. So you need to be on every possible way. If you're, depending on how hard you're looking for a job, maximum online presence, informational interviews like we talked before, recruiters. Recruiters are really good. Don't discount recruiters on LinkedIn if they reach out to you. They are embedded and they do. The problem with the recruiters is they're going to go for jobs that are more contract and not employee based. So you have to work a contract job, which isn't bad. It can be your engage your network, internal job boards, like the government job boards, great. And in-person events like these these help with getting jobs. The average job seeker uses 16 sources during their job search. I thought that was interesting. Okay, and this is about the informational interviews. Like, and I'm not going to go over this too much, but it is real. I think one of the most important things about the informational interviews is not only do it with people who you want to be employed by, but people who are doing the job that you want to do, and then people who can also connect you to all those people. There are so many different ways to do informational interviews, and even like me, so I'm not. I mean, you know, I cannot help you get a job. You might not want my field, but I can help you. You know, whatever, how to translate anthologies to something. You know, I could be, you know, informational interview. There's something else in here, but I can't remember what it was. Fact finding. Okay. Branding yourself. You are a brand. Y'all know that, but you need to know what your vision is for yourself to know what your brand is. So you need to ask yourself questions. What do I believe in? What's important to me? Where's my passion? And passion does sell. Like when someone is really passionate about research, that excites me. So like I like to hear when people are excited about whatever it is they were researching. Passion is contagious too. So really understand your values so that you can create your vision, which creates your brand. Why are you unique? Promote a consistent brand. Use the same name on all your medias. We do research. I mean, managers, hiring managers do look at, you know, LinkedIn. I've looked at someone's Pinterest before because, well, actually, this is who I was interviewing. She was interviewing me for a job, but she had a Pinterest board that had all of her like philosophy about UX research on it, and so I was like able to understand how she thought about UX research before the interview. Why that interview didn't go well is because she asked me about something on my resume, which is another point. She asked me about a volunteer job that I had, and I just wasn't ready to like translate that volunteer job to how I could be a good employee in her situation. And so I flubbed really big time on that question because I didn't know my resume like the back of my. I mean, I didn't have a situation to communicate, a way to able to communicate all of my resume to that job. Anyway, consistent brand, self-promote wisely by consistent posting without excessive self-praise. And I think this is here. I want to talk about this. Yeah, it is. So I was still in school. I just finished my thesis research, and I had just come back from that. But I had been coming to these conferences and really got connected to this community. And I was like, well, I don't need a job right now. I'm going to promote on my LinkedIn other people because I want to promote business anthropology because I was really passionate about that. And so I consistently started promoting other people on my LinkedIn and started getting kind of some followers about it. You know, people like to be promoted. I was not self-promoting myself at all. And another guy on LinkedIn that's like head of research at Mars reached out and he's like, hey, he's in Belgium. He's like, I need a researcher in Houston. Are you close by to that? And I was like, I can't be. I can't be. So I got the job with him, but it was because I think of my consistent posting on LinkedIn, I think must have gotten on his radar somehow, and he reached out to me. So I guess that's why it is. I'm trying to connect all the dots of why, but it was a good job. So, so this is summary, and I just put it here for you to be able to access the sources really quickly. Okay, for those of you over 50, that's me. Anyway, save this for later when y'all turn 50. Age proof your resume when you get older. You know, like take out all the dates. You don't have to show dates. Remove languages like street address. No one has street addresses anymore, or AOL. I do have AOL, but I only use it when I'm shopping. You don't have to show all your experience. showcase the job description and the resume. This is from ARP recommendations, by the way, too. And I also want to make a disclaimer: age discrimination is illegal, but it still happens. So either it's like that black and white that Jillian was talking about. It's black and white. It's wrong, but you're just gonna have to get accustomed to it until things change. But polish your appearance and also highlight your mentoring skills. Anyway, for 50, save it for later. So now the interview. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what is expected. I'm going to tell you what is recommended, and then I'm going to tell you what makes people shine. So expect, and these things are true. Like I'm writing these down from experience of people showing up not on time in sweatshirts, not making eye contact, and of course I don't know why people don't do it, but you just move up the screens to the top. So. And even if you need to look at yourself, you put yourself in that screen, and so that you at least are looking at the camera. So we work remotely. Make sure you have good sound quality. If you're going to get a remote job, you got to show that you can at least do the job. You have the equipment to do the job. So sound quality was important. I had some guy hear one thing said, have the camera on. That was another you want to turn your camera on because we don't want to see you. Respond timely and proofread the resume. These are things that are if this doesn't happen, definitely immediately strike. Recommended. I highly recommend researching the company so that you can ask good questions. And one guy recently listened to a webinar that my boss did and was able to ask a question based on the webinar that he watched. That was that should be really on the next one that I shined, that he shined. But research the company, have your elevator pitch ready. So, I told you earlier, I have different elevator pitches. I have my mom's story, how I got into anthropology, but then I have the toilet research story when I'm wanting at a dinner party. I have different things depending on what crowd I'm in. I also call myself an anthropologist in different crowds, and I call myself a UX researcher in different crowds, depending on really the age of the people. So, know your resume well, like I did. Even your volunteer stuff, know how to translate it to the job that you're applying for. Smile. You already said eye contact, but smile. Smiling's fun. Laughing and connecting is a great way to build rapport. The job interview, job description, and the immediate thank you note is, even if I don't really care if it's handwritten, just even if it's on LinkedIn, usually that's how I send it to, because it's hard to find people's email addresses these days. Especially if you don't know everybody that was in the interview. Sometimes there's multiple people in an interview you're being interviewed by. Okay, impressive. Thoughtful questions. So you are judged by the questions that you ask back, because it shows let me make sure I said everything back. Oh no, wait, let me go back to one. No, wrong way. Build rapport. So one way, building rapport can be I'm an awkward talker sometimes, and so to break the ice, I have to try to find something that I can relate to. And because I'm in the South, I am from Mississippi. I live in Pennsylvania now, but because I'm from the South, and SEC football is really huge. And so I usually use this for my interviews that I'm doing with participants. But I interview a lot of engineers for Verizon. That's where I'm situated, and with my company, Radiant. All of our research is really with Verizon. So I interview engineers. And the first thing that come on is if they are in New England or some that area up there, I'll talk to them about Patriots. And I can talk football, which they kind of find that kind of weird that because SEC and football. I don't know. It's a way that I connect with people, especially older engineers from the Northeast. I don't know. Anyway, try to figure out what it is that you can talk about that can help build rapport. And football is one of those things too, but there's so many different things that can build rapport. You just have to kind of have those. I think the football for me, I've done it so many times. It's like, it's really easy now for me to know if that person will talk about that or not. Or it could be the moving from the South. Oh, I've interviewed a guy from the South, so I was able to like talk to him about the weather down there or something. Weather's a great way to like say, hey, there's snow on Easter. So, do you have something?
I was just gonna say, I was like, if you're on Zoom and your pet comes across the screen, that's another good sort of entry point.
It really is such a good way. That's just I totally agree. Okay. Impressive. Sorry, I got distracted with the building rapport one. Use people's names, like when you're so John, tell me about like what you like working. What do you like working for Radiant about? What are the challenges, John, that you face? Let using someone's name is a really great way to subconsciously to connect with someone. Let me go back here. Okay. Give concise, concrete examples of your skills. And STAR method, and the STAR stands for your situation, the task, the action, and the result. And that's really all when you're being interviewed. There's a lot of times these stories, we can talk about, I can talk about my research with dogs. Oh, okay, so like for Mars, my research was with pet health, because they're the #1 global employers of veterinarians worldwide. I don't know that about Mars. Another aspect of Mars, what I did was I built an ecosystem of pet health in the research. And one of the things that I learned was that veterinarians have surpassed dentists for suicide as an occupation, because being a vet is very, very difficult work because of social media and other reasons. But anyway, see, I can go off on all these tangents about that. Your employer, as good as those stories may sound and as interesting, what they really want to know is, can I do the job? What was the situation? Mars wanted to understand pet health. They want to do a 10-year plan. What was my task? To interview 60+ people in Houston and build an ecosystem of all the things that impact pet health because Houston is a microcosm of the whole United States. Mars. The result is that we've created a 10-year plan for the future of of new products that could come out with pet health. Also discover new stakeholders for them during my process, like the postal worker. They didn't have that as a person that was part of pet health, because postal workers are like feet on the street, knowing which, they're the ones that communicate with the pound. I can't say animal rescue. They're kind of like the people that can also let the police know when something's wrong. So the postal workers were kind of like a really cool new stakeholder that I found for them. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I want to talk about the suicide, because that really it was so impactful, that research was, to interview someone that contemplated suicide. But my employer, future employer, does not want to. I don't have enough time to go into all that with them. That might be good for a second interview, but what they really want to know is, do I and can I communicate that? Okay, so follow up, even if not given a job offer. Reach back out and say, hey, I appreciate you giving me, the time. Do you have any suggestions of how I can improve my interviewing, or whatever? What is it that you say that I could improve upon? I think that's totally fair, and I don't mind doing that, and I don't think anybody else does either. So if you feel comfortable, project enthusiasm and energy. People want people who are enthusiastic about their work, and be prepared for small talk. And I hate small talk, and so I have to find sports and weather to talk about. So, okay. So what interviewers are looking for? Okay. we're gonna leave this list up, and I'm just gonna have this here for you, because I want you to, answer 2 questions at your table by yourself, and then we'll talk about it, together. But I want you to ask, because we're gonna get into the mind of the employer. I don't know if you can see this, but I want you to ask or write down 4 or 5 things. So think about, what you're most proficient at in your life right now, or period in your life. What if someone said that you were the expert at something? Think about that aspect of your life. So think about you're going to have to hire someone to replace you in that aspect of your life. So what information do you want to learn about that person that could replace you, so that they could make, fit the skills, and so we're looking here, what kind of skills, or do they have problem solving skills? Are they emotionally intelligent? Will they fit into your team or whatever? Think about what information do you want to learn, and then, so do it like in a sheet like this, so you can attach what information you want to learn, and think about what questions you need to ask to find that out. Because this isn't, because I'm telling you, these interviews can have trick questions, because they're not really wanting to know what your skills are, they're wanting to know how you answer the question. So and you don't really know that. I didn't know that until I became someone that interviewed people. So just take like 2 or 3 minutes and come up with some information about what it would take to learn about someone that's going to replace you. What information do you need to know? And then what questions do you need to ask to find that out? I don't know what I'm going to do. Okay, so we're gonna, so you have some questions. We're gonna write some of these on the board, some questions some interview questions, and try to make it as non-specific to your industry as possible, if you can. If you need to do it specific to your industry, that's fine too. But I'm just gonna put like 4 or 5 up here so that we can use it for another activity. So give me some questions that you would ask to find out the information that you want to know. Okay.
I wasn't sure if this is how I would find it out, but one of my questions, I guess, how do you approach conflict?
So that's a good one. Okay. To approach, sorry. Approach conflict. Okay, another one?
What were some of the tasks you did?
Pass, last job.
Are we asking about things you want to learn?
Uh-huh.
Or questions you're asking?
I want to know what questions you're gonna ask.
Okay.
Yeah, so tell me about tasks. I didn't do them. Tell me about task at last job, okay? That's another one. Okay,
How to this job and being your personal growth.
okay. How impacting your personal growth, is that what you said? Anything. Growth, okay. Uh-huh. Go ahead.
What skills did you acquire at previous jobs? This might be too much, right? But what skills did you acquire that weren't directly taught to you?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So what skills did you acquire? What skills did you acquire? That you didn't learn on the job? Or that you didn't, that weren't in training part of your
Trying to get it like self-directed.
skills you learn on, independently from training,
Yeah.
training, okay. That's a really good one, okay. Did you want to change yours or something, or did you have a new one?
Oh, I was gonna ask about the question.
Okay.
The personal growth question, what's like the motivation behind that?
We're gonna go, so you're like one head of all of us, you know, with the emails and that. With that, we're about to answer that question. Okay, so any other questions from anybody that we want to put on the board? So that's the next thing we want to do is, or did you have another question?
I was gonna say, what would you do if you had a
Difficult client,
difficult?
or difficult client. So those are kind of the same, but you can be the same way. Okay, so great. So when being asked that, what are the things that you hear that can be learned from this question? How do you approach the difficult, how do you approach conflict or a difficult client? What do you?
My goal for that question was to find out, I guess, their problem solving, how they think. I wanted to know if they were assertive and if they were patient, and if tolerant with level.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot. So you're also getting emotional intelligence here. You're getting problem solving skills. Say again some other things that you said.
It was if they were assertive, their patience, tolerance, and problem solving.
All right. So you're also looking at how can they fit into your team, you know, by seeing how they handle problems in other spaces. That's a really good one. It's one I usually ask in my short interviews. Okay, so tell me about the task of the last job. What does that information does that give you?
How if an unexpected situation arises, how that person might escalate the situation, be able to resolve it.
Okay. And it also definitely to me talks about skills. If someone wants to talk about their skills, they talk about their tasks. And so I would totally like be getting skill sets from that. Also from here, I think I would also learn what's important to them because whatever they say first is kind of what's important. And so that's what I would be picking up of, you know, if they say, you know, I really like presenting to the stakeholders. I did that and I did research. Well, the stakeholders, to me, that was kind of like the first thing that came to their mind. It's really telling of kind of what, you know, usually the first thing that comes to mind is the most important. So it really can tell you about someone's priorities or what they enjoy. How do you see a job benefiting personal growth? So, what you can find in that.
My thought process was
are they passionate, are their willingness to learn outside and go outside the comfort zone, as well as if they're have emotional intelligence, like how far they think about this future and how much they self-reflect.
Yeah, and it really is, skills, everybody can do research, everybody can run numbers through a quantitative software system. Not everybody is going to have passion for growth or to have, or to be able to communicate that. And so that's a really good question to kind of differentiate what an employer is seeing in someone. So, well, I'll go over that. That's a good question. So what skills did you learn independently from training? You kind of talked about that earlier, but go ahead and explain what you were wanting with that.
My thinking was really along the lines of like what you just said, that you can have a lot of people who can do the exact skills that you need for the job, but who is going to go beyond those skills and figure out ways to contribute even when there aren't necessarily tasks on their desk.
Totally. So, to me, it shows also it shows what they're wanting to give to a company, like how much they're willing to invest into a company that's not necessarily asked for, because it's not like, benefiting them, but it's like benefiting the company. Those are really good. And I want to show some of the other ones. Now, the next questions that I have a few questions that are typically asked, and I want to show you the deeper reasons why they're asked. And this is from LinkedIn or Indeed, one of the two. I don't know, but I have a link anyway. So what experience and skills make you a great candidate for this position? So you're definitely wanting to understand their experience and training, but we're also wanting to know if they read the job description and how it correlates with how they see themselves and their skills. So it's a trick question because I want to know if they read the job description. And if their purpose is consistent with the industry's purpose or my company's purpose. So that's, it's really good. That's a great open-ended question. And so when you're as a candidate, think about, before you go to those interviews, why you want to work for that company, and think about these things, about what you're going to communicate from that job description that says why you would make a good candidate, or why the industry, something that's going on in the industry, why you want to be a part of that. So, okay. What's been your most meaningful work experience? Sometimes people answer that. It's really interesting when people answer that with like a failure, because that's really cool to me. Like I kind of like hearing when people have self-reflection and kind of talk about, I don't think I had that on here, but it's definitely showing problem-solving skills, have maybe creativity and initiative. I'm looking for that if they can communicate that about themselves, the self-awareness, and the understanding business value in work too. And like I would like to hear outcome, whether it was bad or good, but if it was bad, what they learned from it. What do you look for in an employer? So I want to know from them, like what they're looking, where do they see themselves fitting into it, into my company? And if they're passionate and my objectives are the same. I want to see if they can articulate their career goals too, because knowing someone's career goals can also help me know, hey, that position might not be best for them. There might be another position that could even be better. So that's really sometimes what I can find in that question. How they want to contribute to the company is sometimes found in this question. Like they want an employer where they can, expand their understanding of, they're in research, but they want to know design. They want to, grow in that space of being, in design, because sometimes designers and researchers work in the same space. But in any industry, there might be, cross-functional activities. How to contribute to that. And then how you contribute in meeting the company goals. So those are what I look for in that. The difficult problem, that was one of the ones we talked about. How to cope with conflict, your interpersonal skills, emotional resilience, because work's hard sometimes. You work for these people 8 hours a day, and sometimes things happen that can be kind of hurtful. And so I do kind of like to hear like someone like well, I had this mean manager. Well, that's not a good way to start that. You know, I had a manager that had different, you know, we had different had a manager that had a management style that wasn't, that didn't align with my values. That's a good way to say that, because, you know, then it sounds like you have values. You didn't totally throw the person under the bus. They're just different from your values. And then the reflections for improvement is always good here in those questions. What qualities make you a good team player? This is something that's really important for us because we have such a great team and a good team, and we want to add to that and not like bring on like a negative Nelly or something like that. And so, but that's really hard to know how someone's going to interact. And so your job as someone being interviewed, you need to kind of understand this question maybe before even going in to your interview. If you could do any kind of background research or like research online or on, you know, like Glassdoor, when they talk about the culture of the company, that's a good place. Understanding the culture of the company before you get into your interview would be really helpful. But so when they ask what qualities make you a good team player, you can, you know, situate your answer to that. You know, I'm not that you're lying, but you're just situating your answer. But yeah, you know, it's like we have a fun group, but we're very helpful with each other. We like if someone can't do their work because they're going to their, you know, sister's graduation, we pick up the work for them because that's kind of like our mentality. So I definitely want to bring someone in that's like, you know, I really feel personally responsible for my work. Usually when I say that, it means they they feel like other people should be really personally responsible for their work too. I like to hear people say, you know, I'm a great, you know, team player. You know, I think it's a team that succeeds, not just myself. But I do take a lot of pride in my own work. You know, so I think you've got to communicate kind of both those things. If someone asks a question, that might be what they're asking for. Let's see. We're almost through too. So what are your career goals? I've been like stuck on this question before. I've been asked, and it kind of blindsided me. I wasn't ready, just like early on when I was interviewing people interviewing me. And because I didn't know how to really situate it with that company. But it definitely is something to understand before you go into an interview, why, what your career goals are and why they want to hear what you're saying. So they want to see that your interest, that you do have interest in the industry and the mission of the company. You know, that you do have, that you're energized in learning skills. So that's kind of like what skills you learn independently from training. This is kind of also one of those, the way to get that information. But not that you, this is how some of this information is gathered. And someone's vision or their brand. So that's, and answering those brand questions are a great way to know how to answer that question when asked. So when you get this deck, there's sources on the back. And I just want to point out, this is the information about that applicant tracking system, which you need to know you need to look at that one so you can know what's on your resume. What I didn't put on here, well, okay, I'll probably add some more before I send it out. Like terms for your industry, why you need to know the terms for your industry. So like, for example, the UX research, you know, until I went to, have y'all ever heard of EPIC, the conference EPIC? I went to the first one in Montreal, I think it was 2017. First time ever I'd ever heard the word iterative research, agile research. I was like, I have been in grad school for like a year and a half now, and how come I've never heard these words before? Why is my school not up to date with the latest research techniques? And it's just because it's business, you know, so, you know, so I started writing down words that I didn't, going to conferences and started writing down words I didn't know so I could like ingrain them in my vocabulary. So, no, and I listened. So another thing, like, so in my new job, I'm working with Verizon. I'm learning the words GUI, which means, well, now I can't even remember what it is. I know they say a lot, like a GUI is, it's a acronym. Huh? Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for saying that. Graphic is how the user interacts with the user face. Thank you. Another one's a swivel, like talk about, and swivels means when someone goes from one, page to another, a swivel. But these are all languages, terminology that I had no idea. So I'm learning things like that too. Always keep a list. Last thing, there's a book called Designing Your Work Life. It was really designing your life. And it's by two guys from Stanford, I think, that are professors there that are in design engineering, I think. They're in the engineering department somehow. But anyway, they took design thinking methodology, which is the, advise, ideate, define, iterate, prototype, test. They're really heavy on prototyping and testing things in your life. I totally recommend this book. This is the link to it. I think on Amazon. Totally recommend it because it just really, it's in all aspects of life, it's a great way to not be scared to test some things out. Because not every decision's final. So, okay. So thank you all so much for coming. Does anybody have any questions before we leave? Or I know, yeah. Okay. Well, if you have any questions, just reach out to me afterwards. I have your emails, and I'll be sending it on with the deck. Thank you. Thank you.
I couldn't think of a particular job.
It's like I hire for interns. I do it. We have an intern program, and then we also do researchers. So that's what I hire. But I also get pulled into other interviews, like for the designers or UX architects, which are like people who are.
Wondering how you could do so many interviews in such a short amount of time.
It's a lot.
Sounds
But and that's why people, I realize now this is why people don't get called back. It's because I've been guilty of not calling back because it's just like when you're working 10 hours a day doing interviews in a week. It's kind of.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about how in the interview process for like academic roles,
Yeah.
I think they hide the upper workers that was in this.
Yeah.
Which it very makes it more interactive.
Totally.
And similarly, I've been able to practice in some orchestras where the other can put the strings, you can't see so you can't see the music and you can only hear them. And then I created a great improvement in like the ethnic and gender diversity of the orchestra when they put up the screen. It made it impossible to discriminate based on race or gender.
That's really good.
So I was thinking, why don't they hide the names on job resumes?
Well, until you got to call them and say, hey. You're right. I mean, there's that's a good question. But, and the thing is, like when you're interviewing someone on Zoom that I want to hire,
Yeah, it's kind of
I want to see their presence.
Yeah, because it's hard to avoid seeing their face.
It really is.
They have done research showing that, I think they use the term sounding names for resumes, then selected less frequently.
Yeah.
In job searches. But that's also, I guess, when it depends what kind of system is
Right.
on, whether it's given.
Yeah, and my company's is Indian based. I mean, India based. Our owner is from India, so we have I would say we don't definitely don't discriminate with names. But
Yeah.
I think we've just read
That's
more
what I was
women.
implying with the generic job, because I read an article about an AI that was trained up.
Yeah.
And you just have to resumes that were of like white guys named Jared or something.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is.
You know why? Because, I'll tell you why it does. Because it looks at what's been done by humans past, the algorithm is set for, yeah, so they would change the algorithm.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to meet you.
Yes.
And I would love you, please, you know, we can connect, we can talk more about your resume. But I think you have a lot of, for like meat there, but it just needs to be in a pre-packaged.
Yeah, I was questioning, you said that one page is also include front and back, especially since it's online, or it's just one page?
I mean, look, I would just do one page.
Yeah.
They did a lot in there with the side. I've seen a lot of people doing that sidebar these days. Yeah.
Will this presentation be available with the links?
Yes,
Yes,
yeah. Oh,
okay.
did you, and I have your email.
Yes.
Jonathan sent it to you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you specifically. That exercise was really great. Like moving backwards was really, really interesting. I've thought about those questions and I've been presented with this idea. Think of in the perspective of the employer, but doing it like that was game
I'm
changer.
glad, I'm glad you got something out of it, but it was for me too, you know, like, I was like, oh, this, you know, one of the questions I always ask people, which you don't hear, is, tell me what your definition of design thinking is.
Yeah.
And if they can't, even though I know they might do research, but that means they just haven't even looked at design, which is what they're applying for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's your questions.
I will say I'm interested in systems research, but I am currently doing graphic design as my side gig, and it's definitely different from the sort of like design research arena.
Oh, yeah.
But I understand where that's coming from. Is what I'm trying to say.
So I definitely, so that you're wanting to get out of graphic design?
Well, no, I'm a veterinary nurse.
Oh,
Currently, I've always
you say veterinarian?
veterinary nurse.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you're honest, like, I did all your topics today.
You
didn't
hit
I?
every single one. But yeah, I've been doing graphic design on the side just as a passion, and I'm moving out of the veterinary world very soon. I'm literally moving to West Virginia, so I'm probably going to be doing design. It's not like what I want to do forever. I want to do systems research, but anyways, like I was thinking initially like UXR, this is not my world. What's going on? And then I, realized that it's all.
And there's so many ways to cross what you're passionate about, food systems
Yeah.
with, you know, spaces with InDesign. You know, things can,
I'm trying to figure that out.
yeah.
Yeah, it
There's
hasn't
ways.
been like readily presented, and I've been thinking about that for a long time because I'm so passionate about graphic design and I find it so fun. I can lose hours doing it in ways that I can't when I'm doing research for our staple class, and I love that, but it doesn't, you don't flow in the same way. Anyways, so yeah.
That's why I would recommend that book then.
Okay.
Because I think that would take you through the process of like, how can I connect these two passions?
Yeah,
There's a solution to that.
I
There
will.
is. Okay, cool. Very good.
Yeah. Thank you
I'm
so
like,
much.
here's back when you just like know where you go now.
Okay, I like that's great. Having some accountability will definitely be good.
Okay.
So how, okay, so you said you did like a hard, your position is to hire people, how do you get a job with that? Where's the ladder that you want to kick up?
Well, I mean, first I left. I mean, but it was, I networked with a guy at a conference and he hired me and he quit. And so I got his job. But it's just like I did show up. I mean, I have life experience that kind of created like the skills they needed. Like they needed someone that could project manage. Well, I've done that kind of skill set. They need someone that could manage others. I've had that in previous experiences in life. So I don't know, it just takes time a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, my company that I work for, is a boutique consultant company, and our main client is Verizon.
Oh,
But so I'm in Verizon every day, like interviewing their employees.
Wasn't that because you were familiar with the head of Verizon? Something, he's like the head of communications or something like that.
Yeah. I'm more,
No, you're good. Just checking, make sure.
Yeah.
You're not leaving through that.
I'm more employee facing than customer facing and communications with the customer
more customer facing.
Thank you so much.
Hey, there you go.